Hello everyone, this is Zeeebo and welcome to this AFK journey video. So in this AFK journey video, we're going to talk about factional talents and break down which factional talent is used in which game mode and which one you should prioritize. So for this factional talent side, we're going to talk about the different combos, the synergies across all the different game modes that you can use. But like I mentioned before, for the factional talent side, always go for the faction where you have the strongest units built, so that you can activate them the most consistently and enjoy the benefits itself. So for this factional talent, the basics that you guys need to know, across all the different levels, there will be this 40 talents across each faction, as well as this level cap for the progression side of things. So prioritizing the first two will be important, but the next two will probably be based on what you want for the other game modes that factional talent can come into effect. So I went for this first four and I skipped Celestial Hypogean because if you take a look at my roster right here, not that many Celestial Hypogean to proc the tiles. So if I don't have the units, I'm probably not using that a lot, so I just skipped it completely to save my points for the subsequent level ups later on. So in terms of the different factional talents, I'll talk about like the combos you can do with each one and which game mode you can use them in. So for the Lightbearer one, you're able to summon Hypogean, which is able to stun the enemy, do a little bit of damage on the front line, and act as a semi-tank. So you can use the Lightbearer one in the factional talent trials over here. So you can do it with your Tasi combo, you can do it with Wilders, you can do it with Graveborns, you can do it with multiple units, and usually the cost of this team will look something like this, like a Rowan with Hypogean for example, with other units, like much stronger carries that can push the AFK stages itself. For example, Tasi together with maybe Twins, together with maybe Hypogean for example. So all these are all the different combos you can do with the Lightbearer side from the AFK stages. So there is a way for you to activate this, and there's a game mode where this one comes into effect. So +1 point for Empire's Bulwark. Now, Sylvan Scroll obviously is going to be really good because for the Wilder side, we have the usual really powerful units for pushing. So you will be able to activate this, and this will be able to buff the damage output from the non-ultimate skills of your prime carrier. So you can put OD on this tile, you can put Bonnie on this tile, and there's a lot of ways to use this effectively. So this is also one of the best, probably the second best for AFK stages, cause the Mauler one, Relentless Hunt, is gonna be activated a lot more because of the sheer power level of the Maulers in general, or this Mauler trio in general. And this one is actually used quite a bit for your tanks, because for this one, if you go into Relentless Hunt right here, number one, it teleports the unit into the enemy to deal damage to them, and on top of that, the prime carrier takes less damage from the prey. So this means that whatever unit you send in will take less damage from the marked target. So usually it will be with Fresto, right? If you don't have Fresto built up, you can obviously use Brutus. So you can send Brutus in, and Brutus taunts the enemy while taking less damage from the prey. And you can also use other tanks, obviously, like Torrent. So this is another good tank for this team. You can also use the likes of Almers in this slot. So for the Wilder side in the AFK stages, I think their prime carrier slot is more used as a defensive tool to make your tank hold the front line longer. So that's for the Mauler factional talent. As for the other factional talent, Soul Reaver might see some use from time to time, but I'll say it's quite niche, because for the AFK stage side, the only few I'll say like good GB unit, Graveborn unit, Bonnie, Ludovic, maybe Torrent. So you have to sort of build a team around this synergy and activate the Soul Reaver ability while getting the most effect out of it, which is hard because even though you steal a lot of HP and the attack from the prime carrier, but if you can't snap them off, eventually they will get the stats back, and then you kind of lose the battle from there. So Soul Reaver is more for sniping purposes, being able to bring down your enemies as fast as possible. So for the Chaos Revelation, so far I haven't seen a lot of people use it before, but I do think that there could be a possibility that you can combo this with obviously your Starshot spell, or maybe future powerful artifacts for you to spam your ultimates as fast as possible to proc the massive boost on your hyper carry. So for me, I'm not going to demonstrate it because I don't have that many Graveborn Celestial, I don't have that many Hypogean and Celestial character. So that's for the AFK stage side. So for the AFK stage side, Lightbearer, Wilders as well as Maulers. Now let's go into the other game modes where the Factional Talent kicks into effect. So we have we have Supreme Arena, we have Guild Supremacy, Battle Drill, as well as Legends Trial. So for Legends Trial, basically the 4 core elements, Graveborn, Lightbearer, Mauler, as well as Wilders, they will see some use, so not going to talk too much about that. For the Guild Supremacy side, right now the strongest teams or the strongest synergies belongs to the Mauler faction. So obviously your Smoky, OD, Mikola, they're all really good here, so Mauler probably the best for Glyph Shade. And then for the Battle Drill side, we do have some replays, so let's run through the record. So if you go into the Battle Drill side, right here we are at the final boss. Click on the Grim Executioner. Judas used a Wilders at level 11, so this is a Wilders team. Then we have our dear Mauler team with obviously your Mauler usual units, and then this is Zeeebo with Mauler as well. And then we have Kimwo, Mauler as well. So we're gonna scroll down to Marvin, also using Maulers. So Kuma also using Maulers. So I'll say statistically speaking, Mauler should probably be the best, but it's not because of the faction, right? I mean, it's not because of the talent, it's more because of the synergy of OD with the talent as well as Mikola. Because one of the issues with OD is that OD don't actually benefit that much from Mikola, right? But for OD with this Factional Talent, you're able to send him in front to reposition him, and then you can reposition another ally with Reina, so that as many of your carries or core units benefit from the Smoky Mikola buff, which is just so good. So that's why the Mauler one, I'll say, should be attributed to the core units rather than the faction itself. But then we use the faction to support the core units, like making your carries a lot stronger, tankier, making your tank a lot tankier, or repositioning your units so you get maximum buff itself. So I will say, in terms of the combos and synergies, Mauler 1 is actually the most flexible because there's quite a few users for that. But in terms of general power level for the PvP side, I do think that the Celestial Hypogean one is the strongest, and the Wilders one is gonna be quite busted in the early game as well. Because for the Celestial Hypogean one, number one, okay, statistically speaking, if you have Paragon tier units, Celestial Hypogean characters, they are stronger in the PvP side. So their teams are naturally stronger, and this tile makes it such that the prime carrier, which is usually your hyper carry, gets a massive buff, allowing them to carry your team more easily. So this talent over here probably has some use, but more for the mega whales who are able to come up with all the really broken Celestial Hypogean based teams. And then for the second strongest in the PvP side, I'll say is the Wilders one, because this one gives your prime carrier invincibility as well as that initial burst of damage that you can quickly bring your opponent down with. So obviously Wilders also have some of the strongest PvP characters like Tarsi, Lily May. Iron Armors is still valid. Arden is definitely still going to be good there. We also have Damien always used as well, and there's also Huin. So there's a whole lot of good Wilders PvP character that can activate this and still form a strong team as well. And then I think Graveborn's also really strong for the PvP side, because for the Graveborn side right now, one of the most popular Graveborn character is Bonnie, and Bonnie targets the realmost enemy to decay them, and then this artifact steals the HP as well as the attack of the enemy as well to allow you to quickly burst the enemy down. So for the Graveborn side, you can combine Bonnie with Torrent, with Ludovic for sustain. Viperion's quite good as well for PvP purposes. Sylvina's good for offense if you're using Sylvina to attack other players. So there are quite a few good units you can use for the PvP side to combine with this talent over here. And then for the Mauler side, so far I think Mauler's Factional Talent is, like I mentioned earlier, used more defensively than anything else, because usually we will send our frontliner in for them to get less damage from the prey itself and also stun the enemy. So that's how the Maulers are mostly used. So if you base it off all the different factors as well as game mode and coverage each of these Factional Talent is able to provide, I can safely say first bet, top priority, these two. Okay, so Wilders, Maulers. I think Maulers probably the best for F2P players because of OD in general, and then followed by the Wilders, and then choose two of the remaining to actually push through for your other contents. Thank you very much for tuning in. Do remember to like and subscribe to see more. I'll see you guys again in my next video. Bye guys.